Hello, my name is Wendy Myers. Welcome to the Live to 110 podcast. You can find me on live to110.com, and you can also find my detox program and learn more about that at mineralpower.com. Today, we have a fantastic show for you all about EMF, electromagnetic frequencies, and a lot of very simple solutions to protect your body from EMF. We're going to be talking with David Slinger and his wife, Margie, about a few different devices that you can use to deflect EMF from your body or deflect it in your home, in your room. And this is one of their little devices called the PE balancer that I use in my bedroom, and it deflects EMF while I'm sleeping. And I found it really, really helpful. I really like these devices because, there's a lot of people that say, turn off your wireless router or, get your computer, your cell phone out of your room while you're sleeping. And while that's great advice, the problem is that there's so many other very strong sources of EMF. You can't hope to just simply remove these things from your bedroom at night or remove the alarm clock or whatever, tips some people give. You have to take things a step further. And David is going to be talking in this podcast about the dangers of EMF and how they affect your mood and your sleep and your energy, and also how they've even saved marriages. Because when people start balancing their energy, they much better mood. They're not fighting as much. We have a couple of funny stories like that, a couple of client testimonials, and we're also going to be talking about the technology and how they use crystals that have metal coils in them, and then they've added global scalar wave technology to them to make them work even better, enhance the energy balancing properties of crystals. So all that today in the show. But before we get into that, we have to do the disclaimer. Please keep in mind that this podcast is not intended to diagnose or treat any disease or health condition, and it's not a substitute for professional medical advice. Please keep in mind this podcast is for entertainment purposes only, so please consult your healthcare practitioner before engaging in anything that we suggest today on the show. Please go check out my book if you haven't already. It's called Limitless Energy on Amazon. It's all about how to detox toxic metals to end exhaustion and chronic fatigue. Today, we have so many metals in our body and chemicals. And in this book, Limitless Energy, I talk specifically about the toxic metals that poison enzymes that transport nutrients into your mitochondria. Your mitochondria make your body's energy. And if they don't have the raw materials, those nutrients to make energy, they're not going to be able to produce the level of energy that your body is capable of. I also in the book talk a little bit about EMFs and a solution to correcting some of the EMF damage. It's our program called Bioenergetic Power with Ness Health, and that's definitely worth looking at. You can see that at unblockingenergy.com if you want to learn more about our bioenergetic program. Our guests today, David and Margie Slinger, started their journey of education and awareness about energy balancing and EMF protection in Kenya. While digging the foundations of their house south of Mombasa, they found human skeletons, human remains. They were living on a burial ground for slaves, and the place felt very bad. They had very negative energy there. Creepy, dark, and disturbed were words they both used to describe how the place felt. And Margie would wake up with night terrors and wake up screaming. As they were financially committed, they couldn't leave. So they started searching around for an answer. Online, they discovered the work of William Reich, a 1940s scientist who discovered a way to move life energy, which is also called chi or prana. After making devices and burying them, not only on their plot, but in the caves where the slaves had been held before being shipped to the slave markets in Zanzibar, they found that they were able to shift the energy. They dropped devices in the sea. They lived on the beach. And the changes were apparent not only to the energy of the place, but also in their own health. Margie stopped having night terrors. And so the research and education on life energy and EMF continues today. They gave away devices. They monitored the results. They changed people's lives. When they moved to New Zealand, they started making and testing a range of devices. The first were handcrafted and worked wonderfully, but they were labor intensive to make. So these evolved with the help of a local jeweler to their present devices that they sell today, which are more powerful and have evolved from years of research. You can learn more about the solutions they provide at lifeenergysolutions.com. David and Slinga, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much. Nice to be invited.
Why don't you tell us a little about your background and how you got into the health field?
Okay. Well, the story starts back in Kenya, of all places. Margie and I were running a dolphin swim business, our own dolphin swim business. We were taking people out to swim with the dolphins in the local marine park. And that was happening in a place called... where was it? Shimoni. I've forgotten the name of the place there. The Shimoni is a Swahili word that means the place of the caves. But the place had a very dark history in that they used these caves to put the slaves in that were part of the Arab slave trade before shipping them out to the markets at Zanzibar. They left them in these caves for a week without food and water. Obviously, some didn't make it, but the ones that did, they fed up and sent to the markets. The ones that didn't, they actually had buried on the plot that we built our house on.
Oh, God.
So if you know anything about energy, it's you can imagine these poor souls had not died in a particularly unpleasant way, and all that energy was attached to the place that we built the house. We actually dug up some of their bones when we were building the house. So it was quite a dark energy about the place, although it was beautiful, beautiful sandy beaches. We're right on the sea, palm trees. But we had some very weird and unpleasant things happen to us in terms of what I would call psychic attack. And what was Margie experienced as night terrors, didn't you?
Yeah, pretty frightening.
Middle of the night, Margie would sit up screaming her head off, and of course I was straight away awake. Anybody that's experienced night terrors knows what this is about. So it was, we knew we had a problem. We knew, and we kind of knew enough at that time to put two and two together and associate it with the sort of the disturbed energy of the setting. So that was the beginning of our journey into exploring the technology which we're working with. I found an open source version of the technology, which is called Organite, and I found instructions how to make it. And made some devices and put those around the house, in the ground. I went into the village and went into the water table, dropped some into the water table, into the cave system, and everything stopped almost overnight. Just the whole energy lifted, and the contrast was quite amazing. It was just everything felt lighter. And then when we decided to move on from Kenya and come here to New Zealand, the thought was planted that this technology was pretty useful and could do with getting out there. And there started our journey.
Yeah, I'm really getting more into energies and bioenergetics and EMF and protecting our bodies from EMF and negative energies. And that's why I wanted to have you on the podcast to explore these really important concepts that a lot of people aren't really considering, and its impact on their health. So we're going to talk about some of the devices that you make in a second, but let's lay a little bit of a foundation. What exactly is electromagnetic radiation, or what's also called electromagnetic fields or electromagnetic frequencies?
Right. Okay. Anytime you pass electricity through a wire, it generates a field. And in the States, you get 60 cycles per second. Here in New Zealand, other places of the world, it's 50 cycles per second, and it should be a smooth sine wave. And our bodies can assimilate that. It's fairly inert to our bodies. But the problem is that it becomes polluted. In that, as soon as you pass it through a motor or a computer or a television, what have you, it picks up random spikes, and there's no pattern to those spikes, but they are generating their own fields. So what's happening to us? For most people, it's on a subconscious level because we're not conscious of it happening. Is that constantly we're detecting this noise? So if you can imagine that. If you could hear it, that somebody was playing a drum or some loud punk music or whatever, and just turning it on and off and on and off at random. That's being detected by our body, and it is putting it under stress. It's destabilizing us. I mean, that's the most common form of EMF that we're experiencing is the dirty electricity. But there's also stuff that comes from microwave towers, our cell phone networks. We have Wi-Fi. That's all transmitting in frequencies that can actually jam our bodies. And we're just living in a soup. With levels of about 100 million times that our grandparents experience. So 2 generations, 100 million times more. No long-term studies been done, people are now really starting to feel it. What's happening is that we're getting the sort of the canary in the coal mine syndrome, where people with sensitivity are not able to live in the modern world anymore. That's extreme.
Yeah, I think it's a huge reason why people are unwell today and are more susceptible to pathogens and infections and reduced immunity and so many health issues people are having today. Low energy, they can't sleep. And for me, I moved from Malibu on the beach to central Los Angeles, and I felt great. And within about 6 months, I was just dragging around. I would wake up in the morning exhausted, not sleeping well, and my health took a downturn. And I, for whatever reason, I just wasn't cluing into the fact that it was EMF. And that's why I want to bring a lot more awareness to people about EMF and give them tools that they can use to help their body, protect their body and improve their health as a result. And so also EMFs can include the computers that we use. Our cell phones emit EMF. Our electric smart meters send out a signal that's 25 miles from our house to tell the electric company how much energy we're using.
Mm-hmm.
And so this EMF, how does it unbalance energy in our bodies, and how does that affect us? So why do we need protecting from it?
Okay, well, the main problem with EMF is it represents chaos, and we are an ordered energetic system. I mean, the Eastern traditions are very familiar with our energetic systems, and we're starting to wake up to that here in the West. That we have the design to have a balanced energetic system, and you're basically throwing chaos at it. So what happens is that the immune system gets very busy trying to rebalance this, but that is putting our systems under stress, and the stress is the key to all the symptoms and the illnesses. Any system under stress is not working efficiently. The immune system is overloaded, and therefore it can't deal with viruses and bacteria coming along and doing the things that it should be doing. It's just overworked, just allowing us to just function basically.
And so by the energy systems, you mean like the meridians and the chakras?
Yes.
And so tell us about some of the products that you have and some of the technology that's infused in them and it's utilized in them.
Okay, well, the root of our technology is with a guy called Wilhelm Reich. Wilhelm Reich was an Austrian scientist, fled the Nazis and ended up in the States. and he worked out that there was an energy everywhere, and he called this energy orgone. And he worked out that you could manipulate it by putting layers of metal and organic material together. And what would happen was you'd get an attract release reaction going on. So that enabled him to focus this energy in one place. And one of the things that he did is he made boxes outside in his garden with wooden metal plates, multiple layers. He put people inside with advanced stages of cancer, and he cured them. Now that, for people that know a little bit, will know that it's quite politically sensitive to do stuff like that. And there's a lot of money being made in the cancer industry, and there's a lot of factions that would want to stop him doing it. And they did it very effectively. They found an excuse to put him in prison, and they poisoned him. So that was the end of him. But fortunately, his technology lived on, and it sort of re-emerged in a format. People were mixing metal particles with resin and crystals, and that had the metal and the organic components within it, which was bringing energy in, and the crystal was working to balance it. So that was the root of the technology. Those are the devices that we made in Kenya to deal with our problem, and we've taken it a little bit further from that. But that is the basic route. You've got rice technology. You present life energy, or orgone, as Reich called it, to a metal coil, a copper coil. It will follow that path and create a vortex, and that accelerates everything. So you've got two components to the technology. One which moves energy. Anytime you move energy from one place to another, you're going to create a field. A field around it. If you introduce crystals into that field, crystals will naturally balance any energy that's out of balance. That's why people have been using crystals for thousands of years, not just because they look pretty, but because they help balance our energies. But if you put that in combination with something that's moving energy wholesale in a big way, then you've got something quite powerful. So it's quite two very simple technologies, but combined, they have some very powerful effects. So will produce around field. If you're wearing it around your neck, like I have one of our pendants around the neck here, that's putting a field over and above my own energy field. And that field, as I said, is controlled by that crystal. So what happens now if I walk into an environment which has got any form of disturbed energy, and it works on other people's bad hair days as well, actually, but which can be very useful. But any form of disturbed energy that's coming towards me is coming through this field. So if it's chaotic, it's starting to get smoothed out. So by the time it reaches me, it is no longer putting that stress on my system. So it's reducing it quite drastically. So that's it in a nutshell. It's very simple but very potent.
But we also embed scalar waves into all our products now, don't we?
Yeah, that's something that we've been doing over the last few years. Been working with some Nikola Tesla technology, which allows us to teach the crystals some frequencies. It's almost like if you vibrate a crystal with a certain form of energy, with strong life energy, you can embed it with a frequency, and then what happens is the crystals continue to vibrate with those frequencies, and then become like a homeopathic resource. So it's like having a homeopathic medicine cupboard hanging around your neck, and those frequencies are available to your consciousness, to your body, when they're useful to help heal a particular condition. So that's something we've been doing as well recently.
So I want to talk about one of the other products that you carry that I use. It's the PE balancer, and it's this little pyramid for the viewers that are watching the video. It's like a little pyramid, And can you talk a little bit about this product and how it works?
Okay, but it works using the same technologies I described that's in the pendant. Um, it's just a bit stronger. So we have our products fall into two main categories. There's some overlap, but there's those that are designed to protect a space, and they're designed to be strong, and that anybody that comes into that space, it could be a house, it could be an office, is then within its energy field and receiving benefit from that. So the Pebble, or Pyramid Energy Balancer, comes into that category. So it has some fairly big coils. The more coils, the more winds that you have, the faster the energy moves and the bigger the field, so the stronger the effect. And it actually has a field, a protective field of about 18 yards, roughly 18 meters. So, and that's in radius. So you've got 36 yards across. So most people live in houses smaller than that. So you put it in your house, basically the whole house is covered.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
it creates a protective zone.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you maybe needed one for every room or something like that. But yeah, I really like this, and I have it actually next to my head, where I sleep at night, because I live, like I said, in central Los Angeles, and there's a tremendous amount of EMF stress that I was dealing with in the past before I got some of these protective measures.
And has that helped you?
It has. Yeah,
Yeah?
it has. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it feels different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so tell us about some of the other kind of products that you have available for people to protect their bodies from EMF.
Okay. Well, there's the pyramid obviously is designed for a zone. We also have a new range of products which we're calling Zen stones. I'll put that in the right way up. And they come in 3 different sizes. With one's got love on it. That's the biggest one. And then we've got a smaller one with peace, and a little one called hope. Mm-hmm. These have different ranges and different functions. Like the small one, the hope stone, you can put in your handbag and carry it around with you, or put it on your desk while you're working with your computer. So it has a fairly local effect. Then you start getting bigger, the range increases, and you start getting into a more of a zone protection. And you can even stack them all together, and the ranges add up, so you get a very strong device. So if you're dealing with let's say you were unfortunate enough to have like a cell phone tower outside your house, you might want to beef up the strength of the technology available. So then you could stack these together and get a bit of increase the amount of protection that you have. We also have little things that you can put your keys on, key rings. This is called the key bowl, or the kibble. It's a smaller version of the pyramid with a key ring on it. Put your keys on it, carry it around in your handbag or your pocket. It's putting out that energy field around you. And these are, in fact, there's another version of that. This is the chi shell. Again, it's got a key ring on. Put it in your pocket, handbag. They're strong enough to protect the people around you as well. We sell a lot of those to parents. Parents are getting quite concerned, particularly here in New Zealand. I don't know. Also we get quite a bit of feedback from the States as well. The schools are putting Wi-Fi in. Everything is Wi-Fi, cable free, and the kids are generally more sensitive than adults to this stuff. So they can't pay attention in class. They're getting physical symptoms. And parents are obviously getting concerned. But the official line is that it's not a problem, so that puts them at odds with the schools. But what they do often is buy these and clip them to the school bag, and then that will give the child some good protection and also protect their schoolmates, where because the field is strong enough.
And these, oh, I'm sorry, these are great. Yeah, put on sort of the baby's pram as well, because the shape is quite sort of tactile, and even babies, obviously can't wear anything, but one of these clipped onto their buggy or pram or cot gives them all the protection that they need.
Yeah, and I think it's so important because we are so bombarded every single day with just very large amounts of electromagnetic radiation, and there are so many studies coming out that are showing that EMF and cell phones are related to cancers and all kinds of different health issues. So there is a lot of research it's surfacing that's outside what any manufacturer of these kinds of products are doing. The proof is in the pudding. We have to protect ourselves.
Yeah, well, even the cell phone manufacturers putting in the small print in the instructions now that you should not carry a phone any closer than 10 centimeters. What's that, about 2 inches? Any closer than about 2 inches to your body for health reasons. So that is there in the small print. So they know that it's coming. They know that people are waking up. And of course, it's a bit like the tobacco. The cigarettes, you went through a phase when it's like, 3 out of 4 doctors prefer Camel.
Yeah.
And then you go through all the denial, the people that are enjoying smoking, and they say, oh, I don't believe any of that nonsense, And of course, there's a lot of industry pressure to keep everything quiet because they want to sell cigarettes. Now everybody knows that smoking is bad for you. And if anybody still wants to smoke, then it's their choice. But the same process is happening with EMF. People are waking up. People are feeling the effects and putting 2 and 2 together. The research is being done. It's slow, but it's happening. And the connections are being made with the EMF and the illnesses. But the thing is, unlike smoking, you're not giving people don't have an option other than to go and live in the cabin in the woods to get away from it. Yeah. They're bathed in it, even if they switch everything off in that in the home. The neighbor's Wi-Fi is affecting them. The smart meter that they've got no control over is affecting them. The cell phone tower is affecting them. So there's no off switch.
There is no off switch. And I know people are under so much stress. Like people think that they feel stressed emotionally because of, maybe their job or their work or finance or something like that. And I think people don't realize that they're being hijacked. Their physiology and their mental capabilities and moods and things are being hijacked and affected by these EMFs. And I think that's why we have increasing rates of depression, are one of the reasons, and other mental and physical health issues that we're seeing in increasing rates today. So let's talk a little bit about the scalar waves and exactly how you embed these into your products. I just want to elaborate a little bit more about that.
Okay, well, this is a technology we've been working with for the last 6 or 7 years. And as I said, it's Nikola Tesla technology. And a scalar wave, as far as I'm concerned, people have slightly different definitions of this, but is a life energy wave that's been created, is generally been converted from electricity. So the way that our technology works is we turn an electrical pulse, electrical frequency, into a life energy frequency, and that is the scalar wave. We have some special coils that do that. Now, if you present this information to anything with a crystal in, the information being the frequencies, then that will embed itself in the frequency. The frequency will embed in the crystal, and the crystal will continue to vibrate for a significantly useful period of time. It wouldn't, not indefinitely, but for certainly outlive us. And as I said, those frequencies then become a resource. So if you got it, hanging around your neck or in one of our space devices nearby, those frequencies are available for the body to heal. Now we don't make any claims, any medical claims, because and any healing that goes on is basically initiated by the self. That is the way that healing happens, as far as I'm concerned. It is the self that does the healing. We can provide tools and information to help that process, and those frequencies, that information, is there as a resource.
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree with you. Our bodies do all the healing. We just have to remove the impediments to our bodies functioning properly, and our body's energy flow and ability to communicate. And so the premise of all of this is essentially that our bodies have an energetic field. Our bodies work by energy. We are an energetic body. I mean, we have mass. I mean, we obviously, our bodies physically exist, but our bodies communicate in our energetic sphere in our bodies. And that's why EMFs affect us so dramatically. Our cells work by electromagnetism. Like omega-3s getting into our cells work by electromagnetism. And if that charge is thrown off by EMFs or other, energetic issues, our cells are not going to work properly. Our bodies are not going to work properly.
Yeah. There's more and more research going on to show these connections, but and some research has been done here in New Zealand. What's the name of the doctor that did the research?
Neil Cherry.
Dr. Neil Cherry, yes. He discovered a connection between EMF and melatonin production. And of course, melatonin is crucial for our body's repair cycle that happens while we sleep. What he discovered is that the body, the pineal gland detects darkness. So the lights go out, and the pineal gland detects that, and it starts to produce melatonin for that nighttime repair cycle, and obviously it's involved in the sleep cycle as well. If there's a source of EMF nearby, the body cannot determine, it cannot discriminate between the EMF and light. So as far as the pineal gland is concerned, the lights are still on. There's no reason for it to get busy. So that is a very clear causal relationship between EMF and the workings of the body and illness. Because if your body doesn't have enough melatonin to fulfill that repair cycle at night, then you're basically not getting fixed. Whatever's going on doesn't have that. Your body doesn't have that opportunity to repair it. So it becomes a cumulative thing.
As we all know, that melatonin is crucial for sleep and also for the T cells to prevent cancer. So this is why EMF is so disastrous, and why there is this increase in cancer and insomnia. I mean, we are finding that it's an epidemic, people not sleeping, and it's all down to EMF, really.
Yeah, now I did a little experiment where I actually started taking melatonin, and I could not believe how much better I slept. And I realized it was because the EMF was impacting my body so much, I wasn't producing melatonin. Or I wasn't producing enough. And melatonin is so important for detoxification as well. If you're not sleeping, you're not able to detox properly, and then toxins build up. And It's just years and years and years of that add up to, diagnoses and cancers and autoimmune and immune system malfunction. So that's why I want to bring awareness to this really, really important topic. And another thing I wanted to talk about was, so the pendants you're wearing, it's a crystal and it's got metals inside of it. Have you found that there's certain metals have a better conductivity than other metals in providing more protection? Like, say, brass versus silver versus gold?
We actually use the pendants are actually cast with pewter, which is almost 100% tin, which is very, very good at conducting energy. And then on top of it's but it's not particularly good to have next to your skin. So they're then plated with sterling silver, and we still do some with copper. No, any energy would work with the technology that we're using. Any metal would work with that technology, but the metal we're using is very effective.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, and that certainly brings down the cost as well, because I know there's some manufacturer they're using gold and silver and things like that dramatically increase the cost. Do you think there's any benefit to that?
Marginally. I mean, every metal has its own properties. It has its own everything has its own vibration, and people will tell you that gold has beneficial vibration to it, as does silver and a lot of metals. But compared with the strength of the technology we're using, it is very subtle to the point of insignificance. We have toyed with the idea of making them out of solid gold. It would be for us a fairly small market, for people that would be willing to spend that kind of money to have this technology around the neck. But the technology as it is, it's very affordable and still very, very effective.
Yeah, I've seen some necklaces that are protecting from EMF. They're solid gold that are $24,000 or $8,000. That's a pretty hefty price. I'm like just curious if that works any better. And
you might be able to sell some of those in LA.
Yeah.
Around the yes. Yeah, we can talk about making some custom ones for you and your market there.
Well, no, I'm not talking about selling any of my. there's another company out there that makes them, and I just thought if that was special at all in any way.
No, we'll leave them to that section of the market, I think.
Yeah. So, is there anything else that we've left out of the conversation that you'd like to add about EMF or your life energy products?
Well, I think it's quite important because obviously this is an emerging market and people are becoming aware of it. But one of the things that we continuously get from people is comparing one product against another. And we've found that through this, people are asking what the technology is in other products, and we have been unable to find out what the technology is. So people are left saying, well, are we being conned here? Do they work? Is this all a big con job? So we have had our products tested, and we have got all our testing on the website so that people can actually see that we're not asking anybody to believe us. And it's been quite a journey for us. As David said, we started off and didn't really know much. We had a problem, we wanted a solution for that problem. And from that, we got lots and lots of feedback from people. The main one being sleeping. People saying, wow, I'm sleeping better. And our initial products that we made when we first came to New Zealand were handcrafted by us, and we used to go around to the markets selling them. So we actually were interfacing with people. Now, a bit sadly, really, our market is worldwide and we don't get to meet people. So our only feedback is actually, emails or phone calls. And our biggest market is the States, which is, it far outruns New Zealand or anywhere else. So perhaps you guys are more aware of the EMF, or perhaps you have more EMF or whatever, or more switched on, probably more switched on. But first it was people that started educating us. And then we got to the stage where we've got to test these things to know exactly what is going on. And what they're doing, so that we can, although we give a guarantee, we don't want anybody to have anything that is no use to them, because really it's more than a business to us. We want to change people's lives. It changed our lives. We want to change other people's lives. But the testing actually means that we can say, yes, we're not asking you to believe that these work. We are showing you that they do work. And we're asking you to test them for yourselves. If they don't work for you, and you're not happy, then that's fine.
And there's some very simple biofeedback testing that you can do to show that it instantly makes your body stronger. We've got a little test on our website, and anybody contact us, I'll point them to it. But it just takes one other person, and you can show that one of the things that this technology does is, as it extends your field out, it connects you to the earth, and that is very, very empowering and very strengthening. So as soon as you put a pendant on, you've got that protection from EMF, which immediately strengthens you, but it also roots you into the Earth's energy, which is very, very strengthening. So there's a little test you can do, very simple test you can do to illustrate that.
And where can people find that test? What is your site name?
It's lifeenergysolutions.com. I'm just trying to remember the name of the page of the site. I'll give it to you later, and you can perhaps put it in your information.
Yeah, so we'll put that in the show notes for anyone who's interested in doing that biofeedback test. And so let's talk about the test that you did. So what kind of measurements did you use, say, before and after your products were implemented or in use?
Well, unfortunately, there aren't many instruments that will measure the energy directly that our pendants use. But the way that you can test it is through the body. You can, and there are plenty of instruments that will measure what's happening with the body, stress in the body. So what we did, or what the testers did, is they took a baseline, and then they put somebody under stress with some EMF, and that could have just simply been handing them a cell phone, and they could then see what that was doing to their bodies, to their energy. Could show that it was destabilizing it, and then they introduced the solution in form of one of our pendants, and what they could then watch that counter the effects of the EMF. So biofeedback is key to, and of course that's something we can do ourselves. We're dealing with a lot of people that are completely aware of EMF. For most people, it's just below the radar. They're aware that at the end of the day, they'd be using a computer, they've got a headache, they perhaps feel irritable, they're perhaps not sleeping so well. Those are kind of like the early symptoms of EMF, and then what happens is over prolonged exposure, the weakest links in the chain start to break, and that depends on your personal genealogies, as to and weaknesses in your system. But But there are people out there that's very, very conscious of it. So they will walk into a room and they will know that the Wi-Fi is on. They will know that somebody's got a cell phone in the pocket. And we deal with a lot of people like this. So, and of course they give us feedback. You know, they put a pendant on, those symptoms go right down. So we've got more testimonials than we really know what to do with. Feedback from people that are completely aware of the problem, and you know they and as a result of that, completely aware of a solution that's when it's presented.
Yeah, so why don't you tell us about some of the success stories, like some stories that you've heard of people in improving their health after they started using your products?
Okay, we've got lots of those. Any of those stuck in your mind that you can think of?
Yeah, I don't know where to start really. Yeah, wish we'd got the testimonials in front of us or whatever. I mean, lots of them are on our website. And one that really sticks in my mind was a young girl that became electrosensitive because of the lighting at school, and it really, really affected her. And I think we don't think about lighting. We think that, well, you know, it's lighting, or we think, well, it's not so good. These energy-saving bulbs are not so good. But don't really realise that something as kind of almost insignificant as that can make people electrosensitive. And she was 14, and we met her in our almost, you know, at the beginning, really early days, and her mother was beside herself because this girl couldn't lead an ordinary life. She was only 14. She'd got the whole of her life ahead of her. And she bought one of our products, and the girl could start doing normal things. I mean, unfortunately, with electrosensitivity, people can never go back to zero. They can never be cured. All they can hope for is that they can have their lives made easier and they can live a fairly normal life. And she was able to do things. She was able to go back to school. She was able to sort of go back in. She couldn't even go in a vehicle. She couldn't even ride in a car. And that for me was, my God, at 14, that's terrible. You know, this is really awful. We've got on our site Margaret Lovell. She's a famous UK sculptor, and she contacted us. She's electrosensitive, and she has been using our products for years now. She obviously, because of what she does, she was flying all over the world, and she used to have to cover herself with these that fabric.
Metallic fabric.
Yeah, to just be able to fly. Horrendous for her, and we were able to help her in that she can live a reasonably normal life. She can do things. She can get on with what she does, which is sculpting and traveling. So that's two that come to mind. I mean, there's loads. One of the big things, and David mentioned this earlier, was night terrors. We've got a 99% success rate with night terrors. Now, we don't know how it works. We don't know, because nobody really knows what night terrors are. And usually they affect children, and horrific. And of course, very distressing for the parents because they can't help the children. the children don't know what's happening, and usually it's young children. So this has been one of our most satisfying things, is that we can help these people, isn't it?
Yeah, and it happens. It works almost instantly. So one day they've got the night terrors are there, the next day they're gone. And I mean, people are ecstatic when they get, the amount of feedback we get, and that's really what we live for. Is that? But another thing, one thing that sprung to my mind is we've been credited with saving some marriages, and that is because people get stressed out, and stressed out people are not generally happy and joyful. We've had one or two women have contacted us and say that we saved their marriages, but bought a pendant for the husband, who obviously working in a high stress EMF stress environment, coming home very irritable and just basically putting too much strain on their relationship. Just change the dynamics completely.
Yeah, ladies, you heard it here. You need to get a necklace for your husband, and you can make him wear it.
You ladies seem to be the ones that are more aware. On the whole, I mean, I'm not running down all the male population of the planet, but women are our best customers simply because they tend to be a bit more switched on. The trouble with EMF is you can't see it. You can't smell it, and it's like, it's a problem. If I can't see it, I can't smell it. I don't want to have to deal with it.
I think people can feel it, like if they're really paying attention. So, for instance, sometimes I'll watch my cell phone. I'll watch like a movie or something on my cell phone when I'm going to sleep. And I'm not supposed to, but I do. And so I'll be holding my phone, and my hand will start to bother me. I'll I have a little Hedron little protector. It's supposed to, I got it on Amazon. It's supposed to help protect, reduce the EMF emission from the phone. But I will still feel it kind of bothering my hand. So if you're kind of paying attention, you can kind of tune into these frequencies and they're bothering you. Like, for instance, I used to put my laptop on my lap, on the top of my legs. And I got to the point where it would just bother my legs so much I couldn't do it anymore. I just had this sensitivity. So you can feel it if you're paying attention.
Yeah. Well, if your cell phone protection isn't working, you need one of these then, which is our answer. And this is probably the most tested, again on our website, cell phone protector.
These work particularly well if you use the phone against your head, because if you're using a phone against your head, you're effectively microwaving your brain.
Yes.
And your brain actually does heat up, and these have been tested to reduce that by about 80%. These aren't our products, but we're the agents for them here in New Zealand. We sell them worldwide. And we do put scalar waves in them, don't we? Yes, we use our technology to actually boost them because they have crystals in.
And can you hold it up and tell us the name of the product?
It's called a Radisafe. Those are available internationally. We're the New Zealand distributor for them. But I mean, we do sell them internationally as well. Yeah, but we're the only people that put scalar waves in, aren't we? Yes, we're the only people that are doing that.
Yeah, we have those in our store. If you go on store.live110.com, there is a link to the Radisafe cell phone protectors. That's really, really important. And I know there's so many people suffering from EMF sensitivity. And there's people that are housebound. There's people that are unable to work any longer. They've probably been to doctor after doctor. Not a chance that any conventional doctor is going to be tuned into EMF. I've never heard of any medical doctor mentioning EMF as a probable cause of the underlying root cause of someone's health issues. Maybe some functional medical doctors might mention this. And I know Dr. Dietrich Klinghardt, who we've had on the podcast before, he makes it mandatory. He wants his patients, before he sees them, he wants them to tend to EMF in their environment prior to seeing them, because he knows that's, a big part of the problem.
Yeah, there's also people that want to find out more about EMF from a very reputable source. There's a Dr. Magda Havas. Magda Havas, she's done extensive research. She's actually discovered that there's a form of diabetes directly related to EMF exposure.
Really, really interesting.
Yeah, so she's got lots of great information on her website.
Fantastic. And one thing that's also interesting is that when people have heavy metals in their body, they become even more of an antenna and attract EMFs to them. Because I focus on detoxification and toxic metals in my practice, and it's a big problem. We have more and more heavy metals in our environment. I think people are accumulating them and have less ability to detox them, because their energy levels and their energy reserves are just being, dramatically assaulted, because all of our energy is going to, trying to balance our bodies from being, bombarded by EMF.
Yeah. I mean, but there's definitely a strong link. In fact, people that contact us with electro sensitivity, we do suggest that they go and see somebody about detoxing metals, and it just makes sense, that if you've got metal in your body, it's going to be re-radiating these signals. I mean, it might be more complicated than that. But there is a definite correlation between heavy metal toxicity and EMF sensitivity. There's definitely a correlation.
Do you have any special offers for the listeners that are interested in trying out some of your products?
Yes, we'll put together some special offers, and we'll let you have those to put on your website.
Okay, great. So anyone, if you're interested in trying some lifeenergysolutions.com products, we'll have some special offers or coupons in the show notes. And I have a question I'd like to ask all of my guests. What do you think is the most pressing health issue in the world today?
Well, I would say definitely EMF is one of the most pressing health. I mean, is part of a gamut of toxins. I mean, we're being overloaded with toxins, but and whether one is more significant than the others, I don't know. I just know that EMF, the levels are now 100 million times more than 2 generations ago. So that's. I don't know what the lead levels are. I don't know what the mercury levels are. That I don't know, but I do know that figure. But it's just part of a gamut of exposure. That our food is toxic. These GMOs that they're putting in our foods. They know the research is there that it's animals get sick when they eat it, and what's happening to us? It's and all the pesticides. That's all getting into our systems. So it's if we're managing to stay healthy, we're in the minority. But you look at the number of people that are dosed up on pharmaceuticals because of this symptom, because of that symptom, because of that condition. We must be one of the most unhealthy generations that ever. Apparently they were the one of the most healthy generations were people that lived through the Second World War, because that was because they were eating organic vegetables. They were traffic islands. They were digging up traffic islands and growing vegetables. Everybody was eating, and they didn't have any processed foods. Obviously, they didn't have cell phones to bombard them with EMF. But things are just going downhill. They're talking about 5G now. They're talking about getting rid of the copper wire telephone system and going into 5G. And there's people that aren't coping with 3G. and are screaming at 4G. So, and there's going to reach a point when nobody can cope anymore, and everybody's health will just fall down.
Tell us about that. Yeah. Tell us about, the U.S. is on 3G. And I know in other countries, I think it's Japan or some other place, are on 4G. I know in Europe they're on 4G, correct?
We've got 4G here, and I think some parts of the states have 4G, and they are talking about 5G. And this 5G, the 5G network is designed so that it's just like all pervading and will replace the copper network. So you can just imagine the levels of exposure that will,
And what does that mean? So what does it mean? What's the difference between what is 3G and what is 5G, and why is that going to impact our health more?
I'm not technically minded enough to be able to give you a full rundown on that, but you just, if you've got a system that's going to allow everybody to use this network to make phone calls, then you've got to have a lot more energy around. There's got to be a lot more bandwidth. So the whole the whole exposure has got to go up massively. The stronger the system, the more information that's coming to and from your phone, then the stronger the signal that you're being exposed to.
Yeah, so that makes sense.
Yeah. So I don't understand exactly the technicalities, but I do know that it's going to mean an increased exposure. These smart meters increasing exposure dramatically. The number of people that we are interacting with have had a smart meter introduced. It's perhaps the other side of the wall to their bedroom. That's the end of their sleep. And a whole gamut of physical symptoms. They're nasty, and you don't have any control over it. They just come and switch it over. We've got lots of information on our website. People are actually taking their power back and removing these things, but there are ways around it. But until enough of us say, hey, no, we don't want this anymore, that they'll get away with it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of simple things that people can do, like switching off their wireless internet at night or shutting down their electric panel, all their electric circuits at night. But that still doesn't account for your neighbor's smart meter or your neighbor's wireless. Or if you live in an apartment building, there could be hundreds of people's routers and wireless internet. So you have to take other measures besides just turning off the wireless router at night.
Yeah. There's a lot of it. There's a lot of common sense things that you can do to reduce your exposure, just as you've identified. But I mean, we don't use Wi-Fi here. We still use cables, but every now and again I'll switch on the Wi-Fi on my phone, and there's 6-7 routers nearby, and it's not a densely packed neighborhood, but and if I ever go into the mall, I think the last time I checked there was about I think it was 24 different routers, 24 different Wi-Fi signals.
Mm-hmm. That's what I have at my house. My internet shut off and my wireless router, and then my computer was trying to find it, and 30 internet services came up.
Right.
I was shocked.
Okay.
I was shocked.
Yeah.
And there's also a website you can go to where you can put in your zip code and find out how many cell phone towers there are within a 5-mile radius. And mine had 400.
Wow.
400.
That's intense.
It's crazy within a 5-mile radius. And I think, I'm not sure if it's just cell phone towers or it's other types of other kinds of structures that emit EMF frequencies. I wasn't totally sure, but it was a really high number. I was kind of shocked about that too. I'm like, not surprising. So what I really want to reiterate to the listeners is, I know so many of you, like myself, are aware of EMF. You've read things on the internet that it's problematic and cause cancers and other disruption and function in our body, but you need to act and do something about it and stop, pretending it doesn't exist or ignoring it, or I'll get to that at some point. Your health depends on it. And so you guys have created some wonderful solutions for people to get started that are easy, they're inexpensive to implement. And I think they're a great starting point to begin, detoxing your home of dirty electricity.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, the answer is for everybody to wake up and for some major changes to be made in our technology. I mean, that hopefully will happen down the line. But in the meantime, the only way to stay, to stay healthy in this intense situation that we're in is to look at measures to protect yourself.
Why don't you tell the listeners where they can find you and get some of your EMF protected products?
Okay. Well, the best place to go to is our website, www.lifeenergysolutions.com. We're here in New Zealand. Any of your listeners in New Zealand or indeed internationally can call us. There's our phone numbers on the website if you want to talk about anything. Email us. Tell us what you're experiencing. We're always there to give recommendations. And as Margie said, we give a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you're experiencing something, you're looking for a solution, and buy something from us, and for whatever reason you feel it isn't doing what we say it does, we give the money back. So and we do understand it can be a leap of faith. When you start talking about energy and EMF, because it's not universally accepted as a problem, and the technology we're using certainly isn't universally accepted. There can be a resistance there. So we're conscious of that. As I say, we give a no quibble money back guarantee.
Fantastic. So I have a feeling I know why most of your customers in the U.S. It's because we have probably so many people living on Indian burial grounds, so they need all these devices to help protect them from the negative energy.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole. We haven't really talked much about that side of things, but they will clean up energy if people are on that page and know that. I mean, basically. The thing is, if you have a row with somebody, you get really angry, you're creating emotion, which is energy in motion. And if it's angry, negative, destructive energy, it won't go away. It will stay in the building. So what happens with people is they get into Groundhog Day. Couples have the same argument. They get day in, day out. And part of that reason is because the energy of that is still embedded in the home and they're being affected with it. Now, that might not make sense to everybody, but for those people it does make sense. This technology cleans that away very, very effectively. So if you are living on an Indian burial ground or we have Maori battlefields here, some people, but they built housing estates on. You can imagine the energy of those encounters. It very effectively cleans it away.
We should have a necklace called the marriage saver.
Yes.
Prevent divorce or something like that.
Yeah, that's a whole different marketing concept. Yeah, save your marriage today with this pendant. Yes.
Well, I thank you guys so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it, and you guys have great energy.
Well, We should do.
You too.
We should do. But thanks. Yeah, appreciate it.
And everyone, if you want to learn more about me, you can go to live to110.com, where we give you all the tools that you need to live a long, healthy, disease-free life. You can learn about my detox and healing program at mineralpower.com. Thank you so much for listening.